Hey guys, it's CWillHD here, and welcome back to Codebreakers. It's been a while since I've done one of these, so I wanted to ease back into it with some Pokemon Sun and Moon cheat codes. There's a lot you can mess around with in this game, like catching trainers' Pokemon, modifying your speed, keeping Mega Evolutions, and more. So let's not waste any more time and get into it. Before we get into anything super interesting, I want to talk about a code that makes the game look a lot better. In Sun and Moon, there's a thin but noticeable border around most of the models. You can see it most on your character, NPCs, and Pokemon. It didn't bother me too much until I came across a code that removes these borders and smoothens everything out. I noticed an immediate difference, and hopefully you do too. All the models look crisp and clear, and I'd say they look just as good as Pokemon Sword and Shield, but maybe that's a stretch. Anyway, it cleans up the game very nicely, and the fact that this little code changes all this is great. I'll be keeping this code on for the rest of the video, so in case you're wondering, this is the main reason the game looks better than normal. Moving on to a speed code that makes you walk and run about twice the normal speed. You'll immediately notice how much faster you are. It can actually be kind of hard to see where you're going due to the camera, so I just used the map on the bottom screen as a guide. This code even works while riding Pokemon. The most insane one is definitely the Tauros charge. You go way too fast to have any real control over where you're going, but it does allow you to loop around the island in no time at all. Again, the minimap is your friend if you do have a specific destination in mind. Like I said before, this works with all the ride Pokemon, including surfing ones. These guys are a lot more manageable as you aren't going at blaring speeds. Once you turn the code off though, it feels like you're going a lot slower than you're supposed to be. I could see myself actually using this code if it was just a bit slower. It's hard to see where you're going at times and is a little much when you're trying to enter doors. Another interesting side effect of this code is being able to clip through most walls and buildings. I guess you're going too fast for the game to handle, so your character just flies through anything and everything. You can run on water, teleport up and down cliffs, and see parts of the map you were never supposed to. So overall, this is a pretty good code. Even though it's a little difficult to control, it can still be fun zooming around the map and through walls. This next one is a little strange. It allows you to catch trainers' Pokemon. Obviously, you aren't supposed to be able to do this as it's grayed out on the menu, but this code allows you to press Y and throw a Pokeball anyway. It still has a normal catch rate, so it can take a few tries. I eventually just gave up and threw a Master Ball at it though. It then plays the normal stuff of you catching a Pokemon, like nicknaming and deciding where you want to place it. However, it then transitioned back to the overworld like I defeated them, but the trainer just re-locked onto me and we battled again. I kept catching her Eevee and tried everything to get away, but I continued to get sucked in. So the only option I had was to reset the game and reload my save. I wanted to do some more experimenting, so I headed into the Elite Four. This way I could test out what happens when a trainer has more than one Pokemon. Upon entering the first fight, I immediately chucked a Master Ball at his starting Pokemon and caught it. After doing the normal stuff again, the battle just ended right then and there. The game treated it like I defeated all of their Pokemon and cleared the room, so I just did the same thing for the final 3 members. It's odd that the game treats you catching the trainer's Pokemon differently here. In normal routes in the game, I would basically soft lock, but in the Elite Four, it behaves like I'd imagine it would. I'm not really sure why it changes, but I imagine any regular battle on a route where they lock onto you, you would get stuck. But with any static battle, it would work like it does here. But anyway, after defeating the Elite Four, I headed up to the champion area to face Hau, since I already beaten the game before. One Master Ball later, and boom, I was taken to the ending screen with none of my Pokemon having to do anything at all. It's actually pretty neat to go back to the PC and check out the Elite Four's Pokemon now that you own them. It even says the Pokemon League is the Met location. I kinda wish this code actually worked in all areas like it does here. I feel like there could be some cool challenge run of the game where you're only allowed to use Pokemon caught from other trainers. But it's still a cool code and allowed me to do something I've always wanted to do in a Pokemon game. Next up is a rather useful one, but nothing too crazy. It allows you to access the PC from anywhere in the game. Simply hold the start button while opening the options menu and it'll pop it right open. This could be useful if some of your Pokemon are hurt and you still have some more trainers to fight on a route or something. This is already a feature in the newer Pokemon game, so it's convenient to add it if you're already used to it. Plus, it could save some time running to the Pokemon Center every time you need to change your party. Ever since I got into Pokemon, I've always had a fascination with shinies. So of course I had to find a code that makes finding them a lot easier. Simply pressing start and L at the same time will activate it, and now you can encounter them every single time. This does take some of the excitement and grinding out of shiny hunting, but if you just want to have a bunch of shinies without spending hours on end, here you go. Not only does it make wild Pokemon shiny, but trainers are also carrying them too. Doing a playthrough of the entire game with the code on would actually be a pretty fun experience since every Pokemon will be shiny. So if you want to load your PC boxes with shinies, this is the code for you. Now onto a code that can modify the camera angle and zoom it out. Press select and L at the same time to activate it. The camera is now pretty far back, allowing you to see a good amount of the area around you. This game already looks pretty good as it is, and this just adds to it all. It didn't take me long to notice there's a lot of models and textures around you that get unloaded as soon as you get out of view of them. In some areas you can even see past the loaded part of the map into a black void. Developers do all this in a big majority of their games to save memory and keep the games running smoothly. I also wanted to check out the insides of buildings, which look pretty neat. Even in small areas like the Pokemon Center, they still unloaded models when you're on the opposite side of the room. Now the rooms look like a tiny little movie set. Anyway, if you remember earlier, I talked about the speed code, and if the camera was zoomed out, it might be easier to control. I'm happy to report that these two codes combined actually work out really well. It gives you plenty of time to see what's coming ahead, and even on Tauros it's more manageable. But whether you're using this code to check out areas from new angles, or using it with the speed code, it's a great one to try out. Mega Evolutions were a pretty cool addition to this series when they started back in X and Y. You can still do this in Pokemon Sun and Moon, and with this code it makes them even better. Normally once you leave a battle, the evolution doesn't carry back over to your party, but now it can. Simply have this code on, Mega Evolve someone in battle, and once it's over, have a look at your party. The Mega Evolution stayed with my Rayquaza and will stay this way as long as you want. I took this even further by getting a full team of Megas, going into battles, Mega Evolving one every battle, and then repeating the process. Now I have a really sick team of 6. I was wondering why their little mini sprites were matched in their Mega forms, like this was an originally planned feature. But then I remembered you can check your party in battle, so you'd want to see how it shows up there too. One quick thing I need to mention, the Mega forms will not carry after you reload your save. But of course there's another code to keep the evolution no matter how many times you reset. It's really convenient having the Mega just thrown out as soon as you enter a battle, instead of sitting through the animation every time. This also means you can have multiple Mega evolutions in a battle, as you're normally restricted to 1. This code is honestly amazing and lets you keep the Pokemon in their crazy looking forms no matter where you are. And finally, a pretty basic code that can be found in most games, walking through walls. All you gotta do is hold down R and you'll ignore all walls and collisions. I had a lot of fun just messing around with this one. First I tried running as far off the map as I could. Eventually I reached the edge of the rendered water so that all that was left was a black void. I kept running in the same direction for about 5 minutes hoping something would happen like a glitch of some sort, but no luck. So I just flew back to the land. It's a lot of fun to just explore areas from all new angles and find tricks developers use to create the areas. Like here in Seafolk Village. Instead of using the load zone to reach the route in the background, I just walked around and got to see a low-res area with some odd-looking grass. The developers just angled these 2D models of grass towards the camera. Besides the views you can get from this code, you can also do some useful things like skipping past some trials, avoiding trainers you don't want to fight, getting around grassy areas, and even walking on water so you don't have to surf. Overall, this is a pretty standard cheat in most games, but it doesn't make it any less fun to mess around with. So those are pretty much all the codes I found interesting. Of course there are plenty of other ones like max items, money, and battle points, but I don't really think I need to showcase those. I'll leave a link in the description to the list I used, so check that out if you're interested. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode though. It's been close to a year since I've done one of these code breakers, and I'm looking forward to making more. But for now, I'm gonna get up out of here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, see ya!